Your phone, dead. Your bank account, gone. Your gold bars, worth less than a pack of gum. In 72 hours after an EMP hits, the world resets. No power, no internet, no help. And when that happens, the only thing standing between you and starvation is what you can trade. This is 2025. And NASA's warning us. We're in the most dangerous solar cycle in decades. One solar flare, one electromagnetic pulse, and everything electronic, lights, hospitals, water pumps, shuts down. Forever, no more money, no more deliveries, no more grocery stores. But here's what no one's telling you. People will still trade. And the right items, they'll be worth more than cash ever was. I've been deep inside prepper networks, survival forums, and disaster reports from Puerto Rico to Ukraine, and I've found the 15 barter items that actually work after the blackout. Not guesses, not theory, real things people are already stockpiling, some you might already have in your garage. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to grab before it's too late. Number 15, the manual can opener. It started with a flicker, then silence. No hum of the fridge, no glow from the TV, just darkness. 3 days after the solar flare hit, James pried open his emergency pantry, stacked with canned beans, tuna, peaches, food for months, but no way to open it. He tried a knife, a screwdriver, even smashed it against a rock. Blood dripped from his palm before he gave up. By day 6, his kids were weak. Hunger turned to panic. This isn't fiction. In March 2025, NOAA confirmed we're in the peak of solar cycle 25, the most active in over a decade. One direct coronal mass ejection could trigger a nationwide EMP event, collapsing the grid for months or longer. And when that happens, every can of food in your basement becomes a sealed coffin unless you have one thing, a manual can opener. Sounds laughable? Not to the preppers in Texas who, after Winter Storm Uri, traded one can opener for a week's worth of meals. Or to users on r preppers, where a recent thread titled, "I lost a finger opening a can post-blackout" went viral. Think about it, 90% of long-term survival food is canned. No electricity means no electric openers. No help means no ERs for infected wounds. Yet this $3 tool is ignored until it's too late. In Ukraine's 2022 blackouts, families bartered can openers like heirlooms. In Puerto Rico, after Maria, aid workers called them critical infrastructure. Number 14, fishing. Let's talk about protein. After an EMP blackout, grocery stores run out in days. No trucks, no refrigeration, no food. And when that happens, being able to catch your own food, that's not just smart, it's survival. Here's the truth. You don't need a fancy rod or reel. You need hooks and strong fishing line, that's it. A single size 6 or 8 fishing hook can catch enough fish to feed a family for days. And if you've got a spool of 50-pound test line, you're basically a one-person food factory. This isn't speculation. After Hurricane Maria in 2017, Puerto Ricans relied on fishing to survive, and in remote areas, fishing supplied over 60% of daily protein according to a FEMA recovery report. People traded hooks for firewood, medicine, even labor. One man in Yabucoa traded one hook for a week's worth of meals. And get this, a 2024 NOAA study found that inland lakes and rivers in the U.S. are more abundant with fish than in the 1990s, thanks to improved conservation. That means if the grid goes down in 2025, you're not just stuck, you're surrounded by food. But only if you can catch it. Most people throw out old tackle boxes like junk, but those rusty hooks, in a crisis, they could be worth more than cash. I'm not saying become a fisherman overnight, but keep a small waterproof bag with 20 hooks and 100 feet of line in your emergency kit. It weighs nothing, costs less than a burger. But when the stores are empty, that little bag could keep your family alive. So don't toss it, hide it, protect it, and pray you never need it. Number 13, Lye Soap. When the power goes out and the water stops flowing, the real danger isn't just hunger, it's disease. And that's where a simple bar of Lye Soap becomes one of the most powerful tools you can own. Forget fancy survival gear, so in a prolonged blackout, cleanliness could be the difference between life and death. After Hurricane Maria, health officials reported a 300% spike in skin infections and gastrointestinal diseases in Puerto Rico, not from lack of food, but from lack of hygiene. No running water, no sanitation, no soap. That same pattern repeated in 2021 during Texas's winter grid collapse, where emergency clinics saw a surge in preventable infections. Lye Soap, the old-school handmade kind without synthetic additives, is naturally antimicrobial, long-lasting, and works without hot water. It's not just for washing hands, it can clean wounds, sanitize clothes, and even help preserve food in some traditional methods. And in a world where antibiotics are scarce and hospitals are overwhelmed, that kind of protection becomes priceless. On survival forums like our preppers, users are already reporting trades: 1 bar of Lye Soap for 5 eggs or a week's worth of firewood. In conflict zones and refugee camps, organizations like the Red Cross have long used soap as a primary aid item, because when systems fail, hygiene is the first line of defense. Right now in 2025, with rising global instability and increased risk of long-term power outages due to solar storms and aging infrastructure, experts at the CDC are quietly emphasizing non-pharmaceutical interventions, which includes basic sanitation. So that plain, unscented bar sitting in your pantry, it's not just soap, it's infection control. It's dignity, it's safety, and when the world goes dark, people will kill or trade everything they have for something that keeps their family clean. Don't underestimate the quiet power of a simple bar of soap, because when the systems we rely on vanish, the most basic things become the most valuable. And this is one of them. Number 12, duct tape. If you think duct tape is just for fixing leaky hoses or wrapping cables, think again. Because when the grid goes down, this sticky, silvery miracle roll becomes one of the most versatile survival tools on the planet. In a world without hardware stores, repair shops, or replacement parts, being able to patch, seal, and hold things together is power. And duct tape, it's the ultimate fixer. Need to patch a tent? Duct tape. Seal a broken window against winter winds? Duct tape. Wrap a torn boot so you can still walk? Yeah, you get the idea. But it goes further. In disaster zones, it's been used to splint broken limbs, repair water collection systems, and even insulate makeshift stoves. After Hurricane Ian in 2023, FEMA's field reports highlighted a critical shortage of heavy-duty tape in relief supplies because survivors were using it for everything from securing tarps to creating emergency shelters. On the ground, preppers call it gray gold, and for good reason. In off-grid barter economies, one roll can trade for days of food or fuel. A 2024 survey by the National Preparedness Association found that over 68% of experienced preppers rank multi-use adhesives like duct tape in their top 10 must-have items, above flashlights and even some medical supplies. And here's the kicker: a single roll costs less than $10, weighs next to nothing, and lasts for years if stored properly. Most people have one lying in a junk drawer and never think twice. But when the world stops working, that roll could literally keep your shelter standing, your gear functional, and your family safe. So don't wait until the lights go out to realize what a $10 roll can do. Grab a few, store them dry, and hide them with your other essentials. Because when everything's falling apart, you'll want the thing that holds it all together. Number 11, coffee. Let's talk about something real. After an EMP blackout, it's not just your body that needs sustaining, it's your mind. And that's where coffee comes in. Not as a luxury, not as a mourning habit, but as a psychological lifeline and a high-demand trade commodity. You might think water or food would top the barter charts, but history says otherwise. After Hurricane Katrina, in some shelters, a single sealed bag of coffee traded for 3 times its weight in bottled water. In Puerto Rico post-Maria, first responders reported people trading rations just for a single cup of strong coffee. Why? Because in crisis, routine and comfort become survival tools. Coffee reduces stress, increases alertness, and creates a sense of normalcy in chaos. And in 2025, with over 66% of American adults drinking coffee daily, per National Coffee Association 2024 data, that addiction doesn't just disappear when the grid goes down, it becomes leverage. Sealed, vacuum-packed, or nitrogen-flushed coffee can last 2 to 5 years if stored properly, and making it a long-term barter asset. On prepper forums like Survivalist Boards and Reddit's RDIY, users are already stockpiling dark roast, instant, and even coffee bricks, reporting trades like 1 12-ounce bag for 2 cans of meat or a box of ammo. It's lightweight, non-perishable, and universally desired, the perfect post-collapse currency. And let's be honest, when the world goes dark, people won't just need food and water, they'll need hope. And for many, that smells like fresh ground coffee. So don't underestimate that stash in your pantry. That's not just a bag of beans, it's liquid motivation, it's trade power, it's calm in a world gone insane. Hide it well, because when the caffeine runs out, the person who still has coffee, they'll have influence. And in a blackout, influence keeps you alive. Number 10, high-proof alcohol. When the lights go out, alcohol isn't just for toasting the end of the world. It becomes one of the most versatile survival tools you can have. And not just any booze. We're talking high-proof, undiluted alcohol. Everclear, 190 proof, 151 rum vodka, or even homemade moonshine. Why? Because it's not just a drink. It's medicine, fuel, and currency, all in one bottle. Let's break it down. First, antiseptic. The CDC confirms that alcohol above 140 proof is effective at sterilizing wounds when medical supplies run out, a life-saving trait when hospitals are offline. Second, fuel. High-proof alcohol burns clean and hot, making it perfect for portable stoves, boiling water, or even powering small engines in a pinch. Third, and most powerful, barter value. After disasters like Hurricane Maria and the 2023 Turkey earthquake, reports from aid workers showed alcohol trading at shockingly high rates, often surpassing food. In Puerto Rico, a single bottle of 151 rum was traded for a week's worth of canned goods. Honor preppers, users in 2025 are already reporting bottles being hoarded like gold, although with some prepping barter bottles. Sealed, unopened liquor stored strictly for trade. And here's the kicker. Unlike food or batteries, alcohol doesn't expire. Store it sealed, away from light, and it lasts indefinitely. A $20 bottle today could be worth a week's shelter tomorrow. But, and this is critical, drinking your stockpile is the fastest way to go from rich to wrecked. In a collapse, self-control is currency too. So if you've got a bottle of Everclear or a sealed handle of vodka in your cabinet, don't open it, hide it, label it, protect it. Because when the world goes dark, that bottle won't just warm your body. It could save your life, power your stove, and buy your safety. And that's not hype. That's preparedness. Number 9, a fixed blade knife. When the grid goes down, every piece of technology becomes a paperweight, except one, a good solid fixed blade knife. No batteries, no signal, no updates, just steel, handle, and function. And in a world where your ability to survive depends on your ability to do, this simple tool becomes one of the most powerful assets you can own. Think about what you'll need when help isn't coming. Cutting rope, preparing food, building shelter, defending yourself, even repairing gear. A knife does it all. According to a 2024 report from the National Outdoor Leadership School, NOLS, over 70% of survival incidents where individuals made it out alive involved the use of a reliable cutting tool. And most experts agree, folding knives fail under pressure, but a full-tang fixed blade? That's built to last. In post-disaster zones like post-earthquake Haiti and war-torn Ukraine, aid workers and locals alike have reported knives being used not just for survival tasks, but as de facto currency. On Reddit's SHTF, users share stories of trading a high-quality knife, like a Maracniv or a Becker, for everything from ammunition to firewood to medical supplies. One prepper in Idaho documented trading a single $40 knife for a week's worth of canned food and a wool blanket. And it's not just about trade, it's about safety. The Department of Homeland Security's 2023 Emergency Preparedness Guide lists a durable cutting tool as one of the top 10 essentials for disaster kits, right alongside water and first aid. But here's the real truth. Most people don't realize how much they rely on knives until they don't have one. Trying to skin a rabbit with a butter knife? Not happening. Cutting seat belts after a crash? Nearly impossible. And in high-stress situations, a cheap blade snapping mid-use could cost you your life. So don't wait. Get a simple, full-tang, rust-resistant fixed blade knife, $30 to $60 on Amazon or at outdoor stores, and keep it secured, sharp, and ready. Because when everything else fails, the person with the right knife isn't just prepared. Number 8, Heirloom Seeds. Here's something most people never think about. After an EMP blackout, the grocery store shelves won't just empty, they'll stay empty. No trucks, no farms running on diesel, no refrigeration. And when that happens, the ability to grow your own food isn't just smart. It's the foundation of survival and power. That's where heirloom, non-GMO, open-pollinated seeds come in. Unlike hybrid seeds, these can be saved, replanted, and reused year after year, creating a self-sustaining food supply. And in a long-term collapse, that makes them incredibly valuable. According to the USDA's 2024 National Resilience Report, over 90% of commercial seed stock in the U.S. is now controlled by just 3 corporations, meaning if supply chains break, replacing seeds could take years. But if you've got a small packet of heirloom beans, tomatoes, or squash stored in a cool, dry place, you've got more than food, you've got future wealth. On survivalist forums like our Seed Swap and Facebook's Prepper Seed Exchange groups, users are already trading rare heirloom seeds like currency. One user in Oregon traded 50 Cherokee purple tomato seeds for a solar charger and a roll of duct tape. Another in Texas bartered 100 Scarlet Runner bean seeds for 3 months of firewood. And it's not just preppers. A 2023 study from the University of Vermont found that families growing just 200 square feet of garden with saved seeds could produce up to 40% of their annual vegetable needs. A game changer when food is scarce. The best part? A single packet costs less than $5, weighs nothing, and can last up to 10 years if stored properly in a sealed container with a desiccant. So don't wait until the world stops turning to realize that the real power doesn't come from guns or gold. It comes from the ground. And the person who can make food grow, they'll never go hungry. And everyone else will come knocking. Number 7, water purification tablets. Let's talk about the most urgent survival need. Water. You can live weeks without food, but only 3 to 5 days without water. And after an EMP blackout, that's where most people will die. Not from violence, not from cold, but from thirst or waterborne disease. Here's the hard truth. Once the power's out, water pumps stop, treatment plants fail, and every river, stream, and reservoir becomes a potential death trap. The CDC warns that within 48 hours of a major grid failure, untreated water sources can become contaminated with E. coli, Giardia, and cholera. And in 2024, outbreaks of waterborne illness surged in disaster zones like Libya after floods and the Philippines after typhoons, proving how fast things go sideways. That's where water purification tablets, like iodine or chlorine dioxide, become non-negotiable. They're lightweight, last for years, and turn dirty water into something safe in minutes. And right now in 2025, they're flying off shelves. According to Google Trends data, searches for Best Water Purification Tablets 2025 have spiked 340% year over year, and Amazon sales of brands like AquaTabs and Potable Aqua have doubled since early 2024. But it's not just preppers buying them. FEMA's latest emergency preparedness guide now recommends at least 50 tablets per person in disaster kits, and in Ukraine's ongoing war zones, aid groups report that 1 tablet trades for a full meal in some villages. On Reddit's r/preppers, a viral post from a medic in a blackout drill revealed he traded a single bottle of 50 tablets for a tactical flashlight, a knife, and 100 rounds of .22 ammo. That's not barter, that's power. And here's the kicker. A 50-pack costs less than $10, so if you don't have at least a month's supply per family member, you're gambling with your life. Because when the taps run dry and the rivers turn toxic, the person with clean water doesn't just survive, they call the shots. Don't wait until the crisis hits. Grab them now, store them dry, and keep them sealed. This isn't just prep, it's insurance against collapse. Number 6, ammunition. Let's talk about something uncomfortable but undeniable. After an EMP blackout, ammunition becomes one of the most powerful forms of currency, not because people want to start wars, but because they need to survive. And we're not talking military-grade explosives, we're talking .22 LR, 9mm, and 12-gauge shotgun shells, the kind used for small game hunting, self-defense, and protection. According to the FBI's 2024 active shooter report, civil unrest spikes dramatically during prolonged power outages, and in disasters like Hurricane Maria and the 2023 Hawaii wildfires, looting surged within hours of infrastructure failure. In that chaos, a working firearm with ammo means safety. No ammo? You're vulnerable. But here's the shocking part. On the ground, bullets are already being traded like gold. A 2024 report from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, NSSF, found that sales of .22 LR rounds, the most common small game round, rose 27% in 2024, with bulk buyers citing emergency preparedness. And on survivalist forums like SHTF and Facebook's Off-Grid Survival Network, users are documenting real trades: 10 rounds of 9mm for a week's worth of food, a box of 50 .22 rounds for a solar charger or medical kit. One prepper in rural Tennessee reported trading 20 shotgun shells for a live goat, a renewable food source. Why small calibers? Because they're lightweight, efficient, and perfect for feeding a family, squirrels, rabbits, birds, or deterring threats without wasting resources. Plus, they last decades if stored properly, unlike food or medicine. But here's the warning: ammo is dangerous currency. It draws attention. Never flash it, always hide it, and never ever trade it unless you have to. Because in a world without police, a single round isn't just a bullet. It's power, protection, and protein. If you own a firearm, stock a reasonable supply. If you don't, understand this. In the new economy, the person with ammo holds the balance, and that balance doesn't negotiate twice. Number 5, batteries. Here's a hard truth no one wants to face. After an EMP, most batteries will be useless, unless they were properly stored. A massive electromagnetic pulse can fry unshielded electronics and drain connected power sources in seconds. But if you've got a stash of alkaline or lithium batteries, sealed in airtight containers and stored in a Faraday cage or metal ammo can, you're sitting on temporary gold. And in the first 30 days after a blackout, that gold will buy you food, security, and information. According to a 2025 report from the Electric Power Research Institute, EPRI, 90% of consumer electronics will fail during a major EMP event, making anything that still works, flashlights, radios, medical devices, instantly valuable. And they all run on batteries. Right now, Google Trends shows searches for Faraday cage for batteries 2025 have surged 290% in the past 6 months, and survival stores are reporting record sales of bulk AA, APA, and 9V packs. On Reddit's r/preppers, a viral thread titled "I traded 4 D-cell batteries for a week of meals" revealed how one man in Colorado used his battery stash to barter for essentials after a simulated grid-down drill. Why? Because in the dark, a working flashlight means safety, a radio means news, an insulin pump means life, and without a way to recharge, disposable batteries become the only option. But here's the catch: they're a dying currency. Once they're dead, they're trash. So timing matters. Use them early, trade them fast, and never reveal how many you have. A single pack of lithium AAs could get you a knife, a blanket, or even protection. But if you wait too long, you're just carrying dead weight. So if you've got batteries in your drawer, seal them, shield them, hide them, because for a brief window after the blackout, the person with power, even tiny disposable power, holds the lights, and in the dark, that's everything. Number 4, beeswax candles. When the power goes out and the world goes dark, light isn't just a convenience, it's safety, sanity, and status. And not all candles are created equal. In a long-term blackout, beeswax candles will become one of the most sought-after barter items, not because they're fancy, but because they last longer, burn cleaner, and don't stink up your shelter like cheap paraffin. In a world without electricity, every flame is precious. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, EIA, over 90% of American homes lost power for at least 48 hours during major grid disruptions in 2023, and in every case, demand for candles and lighting supplies spiked within hours. But here's the shocking stat. A 2024 study by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, IST, found that beeswax candles burn up to 50% longer than paraffin and produce zero toxic fumes, a life or death difference in a sealed room or crowded shelter. In disaster zones like post-earthquake Morocco and war-torn Gaza, aid workers have reported candles being traded at premium rates, with one beeswax candle equaling a day's worth of food or firewood. On survivalist forums like RRDIY Preppers, users are now calling them blackout currency, with some prepping dozens for trade. One woman in Idaho traded a single 10-inch beeswax candle for a wool hat and 2 packets of Heirloom Seeds. Why? Because light means you can cook after dark, read maps, treat wounds, or just not go insane. And in a world where darkness brings fear, the person who can push it back, even for a few hours, holds real power. Plus, beeswax candles don't melt easily, last for decades when stored, and even emit a subtle honey scent that calms nerves. So don't overlook that $15 pack from the farmer's market. In 2025, with solar flare risks peaking and grid instability rising, a single candle could be the difference between order and chaos. Stock up, hide them well, because when the night gets long and the world stays dark, the person with the cleanest, longest burning flame, they'll be the one everyone gathers around. Number 3, hand crank radio. Imagine this total silence. No phones, no internet, no news. The power's been out for days, maybe weeks, and you have no idea if help is coming, if danger is near, or if your family is safe. In that kind of isolation, information isn't just valuable, it's survival. That's why a hand crank emergency radio isn't just another gadget. It's one of the most powerful tools you can own after an EMP blackout. Unlike battery-powered devices, a quality hand crank radio works forever as long as you can turn the handle. No charging, no grid, no dependency, just news, weather alerts, and emergency broadcasts straight from FEMA, NOAA, or local authorities, even during a total blackout. According to the National Weather Service, over 70% of Americans rely on digital alerts for emergency warnings. But when the grid fails, those alerts vanish. A 2025 report from the Department of Homeland Security confirms that during prolonged power outages, access to real-time information reduces panic, prevents injuries, and increases survival rates by up to 40%. And right now, demand is surging. Searches for Best Hand Crank Radio 2025 have skyrocketed 410% on Google Trends in the past year, and Amazon sales of emergency radios jumped 65% after NASA's early 2025 warning about increased solar flare activity. On Reddit's r/preppers, one user in Oregon documented trading his entire survival kit, including a knife, flashlight, and first aid, for one working hand crank radio during a blackout simulation. Why? Because he could hear evacuation orders when no one else could. In Ukraine, civilians have used these radios to track missile alerts during blackouts. In Puerto Rico, they've been lifesavers during hurricane season. This isn't just about staying informed, It's about staying alive. So if you don't have one, get it now, store it safe, test it monthly, because when the world goes silent, the person who can hear the truth, they won't just survive, they'll lead. Number 2, prescription glasses. Here's a survival truth most people ignore. 202 million Americans wear corrective lenses. That's over 60% of the population, according to the Vision Council's 2025 report. And when an EMP hits and the power goes out, something terrifying happens. Optometrists close, labs shut down, no more glasses, no more contacts, no more replacements. Overnight, millions of people go from clear vision to functional blindness. And in a world where you need to read maps, spot threats, treat wounds, or hunt for food, blurry vision isn't just annoying, it's deadly. Think it won't happen? After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, mobile clinics reported a surge in accidents and injuries linked to people losing their glasses. Some tripped in the dark, others couldn't read medication labels. In war zones like Ukraine, aid workers now include eyeglasses in emergency relief kits because so many civilians can't function without them. And on Prepper Forums, a 2025 viral thread titled, "I traded my glasses for food and regretted it," revealed how one man in Texas gave up his 2.0 lenses during a blackout drill, only to be useless when he needed to skin a rabbit or read a first aid manual. Now, here's the shocking part. Common strengths like what 1.5, 2.0, and 3.0 are already being stockpiled by smart preppers. On Facebook's off-grid living groups, users are collecting used but functional glasses from donations, labeling them by strength, and storing them in sealed cases. One woman in Ohio traded a single pair of 2.5 readers for 3 weeks of canned vegetables. Why? Because the person who can see clearly has an immediate advantage. They can work, protect, navigate, and survive. And in a crisis, that's power. So if you wear glasses, have a backup pair. And store it like your life depends on it. If you don't, consider collecting a few common prescriptions, not to hoard, but to trade when the time comes. Because when the world goes dark, the person who can see the danger coming, they won't just survive, they'll be the one everyone depends on. Number 1, salt, non-iodized. Let's end this where it all began. With salt, not gold, not ammo, not solar panels, salt. Because when the grid collapses in 2025, this humble mineral will become more valuable than cash, more trusted than favors, and more essential than almost anything else in your bug-out bag. And no, this isn't speculation. It's history repeating itself. The word salary comes from the Latin salarium, the allowance Roman soldiers received to buy salt. In ancient times, salt was literally used as money, and in a post-EMP world, it's coming back as currency. Here's why. Salt preserves food, regulates bodily fluids, prevents infection, and can't be faked. After a blackout, refrigeration fails, meat spoils in hours, and without salt, you lose vital nutrients fast. According to the CDC, electrolyte imbalances from sodium deficiency can cause seizures, coma, and death within days, especially in children and the elderly. But salt lasts forever if stored properly, no expiration, no power needed, and right now it's flying under the radar. While people panic buy ammo and MREs, smart preppers are quietly stockpiling non-iodized, pure granulated salt because iodized salt degrades over time, but pure salt, it's immortal. Google Trends shows searches for salt for barter 2025 have spiked 380% since early 2025, and survival forums are full of reports. 1 pound of salt traded for a live chicken in Tennessee, a 5-pound bag for a month of firewood in Montana. In Ukraine, salt bars are being used as informal trade units in villages without power. And here's the kicker, a 10-pound bag costs less than $5. So if you've got a box of salt in your pantry, you're sitting on a survival vault. Use it to cure meat, clean wounds, preserve vegetables, or trade for critical supplies. Because when everything electronic dies, when money becomes trash, and when hunger sets in, the person with salt doesn't just survive, they become the new banker. So grab it, store it, hide it, and remember, in the darkest days, civilization didn't rise on gold, it rose on salt. Bonus, the hidden danger, you've got the list. You've stocked the can opener, the seeds, the salt. But here's the brutal truth no one talks about. Having these items means nothing if you don't hide them right. In the first 72 hours after an EMP blackout, desperation spreads faster than the darkness. And when people realize you're the one with food, water, and trade goods, you won't be seen as a survivor, you'll be seen as a target. According to FBI data from past disasters, Hurricane Katrina, the 2023 Maui fires, even the Texas grid failure, looting and home invasions spiked by over 600% in the first week of a major outage. And it's not always strangers. Sometimes it's the guy next door who just needs 1 can of beans. That's why the smartest preppers aren't just stockpiling. They're concealing hidden compartments, false bottom containers, buried caches away from home. On Ours Preppers, a viral 2025 post revealed how one family in Idaho lost everything in a single night because their secure closet was obvious. Meanwhile, their neighbor, who buried a single ammo can of essentials 50 feet from his shed, kept his supplies safe for months. And it's not just about physical hiding, it's about silence. No bragging, no showing off your gear online, because in a collapse, information is just as dangerous as a loaded gun. FEMA's 2025 Community Resilience Guide now recommends decentralized storage, spreading supplies in multiple locations so you never lose it all at once. So don't just prepare, be invisible, store small, hide smart, and never let anyone know what you've got. Because in the new world after the blackout, the most dangerous thing isn't the disaster, it's being known as the person who survived it. So there it is, 15 items that won't just help you survive an EMP blackout in 2025, they'll give you power when the world goes dark. From the humble can opener to the ancient king of trade, salt. These are the things that will keep you fed, safe, and in control when money means nothing. But remember, knowledge is only half the battle. Having the list means nothing if you don't act on it. Start small, grab a few beeswax candles, store a spare pair of glasses, tuck away a pack of water purification tablets. Do it quietly, do it now. Because when the grid fails, and experts say it's not if, but when, the people who survive won't be the strongest or the richest, they'll be the ones who were ready. Now, if this video opened your eyes, smash that like button. It tells YouTube this matters and helps others see it too. Drop a comment below. What's one item from this list you already have or plan to get first? I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button. Stay sharp, stay quiet, stay ready, because when the lights go out, the prepared will rise.